have no right to tell me what to do. I demand justice, and I will not be silenced by you. Order in the court.
The first time Karen tried to ruin my day, it was May 3, 2024 at 9 p.m., and I found a bright orange wheel boot clamped to my car like a metal bear trap. The air was cold enough to sting my nose. A tow truck idled at the curb with flashing amber lights that painted my driveway like a crime scene. The whole street smelled like wet asphalt and burnt coffee from the gas station down the block. Karen stood there in a puffy vest, gripping a clipboard like it was a weapon, smiling like she'd been waiting for this moment all week. She leaned in close and said, all sweet and sharp at the same time, "Rules are rules." Then she pointed at a tiny line in the HOA handbook and acted like she'd just caught me robbing a bank. My violation? Parking in my own driveway with my front tire barely touching the sidewalk line. She said it was a safety issue. She said she had already authorized a tow if I didn't pay the release fee tonight. The number she spat out made my stomach drop. $300, due now, or my car goes to a lot across town. I moved into Maple Ridge 2 months earlier, and I kept my job quiet on purpose. In a neighborhood like this, people talk. And I didn't want every barbecue turning into a courtroom question session. So I smiled, took the paper, and tried to stay calm, even while my face burned. That's when my whole life became the story called Karen stormed my courthouse steps porch screaming rules are rules, had no idea I am the judge, because this fight wasn't about a tire line. It was about control. Karen ran the HOA like it was her own little kingdom, and she loved the sound of panic in someone's voice. I tried to appeal the boot and the fee like a normal person. I emailed the board. I asked for a hearing. I even walked door to door to see if anyone else had been hit like this. Most of my neighbors acted like I was asking them to confess a crime. They glanced around, lowered their voices, and told me, "Don't poke her. She'll make your life miserable." The board finally replied with one short sentence that felt like a slap: decision upheld. Pay within 48 hours. The next week I showed up to the HOA meeting in the clubhouse, and it felt like walking into a room full of scared statues. The fluorescent lights hummed. Someone had brought stale cookies, and the smell of cheap vanilla made my stomach turn. Karen sat at the front table with 2 board members who looked like they wanted to melt into their chairs. I spoke slowly, like I was talking to a classroom. I asked for the rule in writing. I asked why the boot company was called before any warning. I asked why my driveway was suddenly public danger. Karen didn't answer the questions. She made a show of tapping her pen, sighing, and looking at her watch. Then she slid a new paper across the table like a dealer in a card game. It was a fine schedule. She pointed at a line and said, "Non-compliance escalates. Next is a lien." I heard a neighbor behind me whisper, "Just pay it, man." Karen leaned forward and said, "You people think you can bend the rules. Not in my neighborhood." That's when I drew my line in my head. I didn't yell. I didn't slam anything. I just told her, I will use the proper channels, and I will do it by the book. She laughed, like I just threatened her with a squirt gun. That laugh followed me for days. It followed me to work. It followed me home. It even followed me to the grocery store when I saw her glaring at me over a pile of bananas like I was the villain. Then the notices started stacking up like junk mail from hell. May 8, 2024, porch item not approved. It was a small planter. May 12, 2024, unauthorized doormat. Yes, a doormat. By May 20th, the total fines were already over $1,000, and she wrote in red ink, "Final warning." The board stayed silent. The neighbors stayed scared. And Karen strutted around like she'd invented the concept of rules. That's when I started collecting. Not revenge in some wild way. Not anything dirty. just facts, paper, and time. I lined up photos, emails, and call logs in a binder. I saved every notice, every text, every time she showed up to inspect my porch like it was a crime scene. And when I heard she had called the police on 2 different neighbors for trespass just because she didn't like their guests, I knew this wasn't only about me anymore. So I did what I always tell people to do in my courtroom: document everything and let the system work. On May 22, 2024, I filed a public records request with the police department for HOA-related calls in our neighborhood. I also pulled the HOA's meeting minutes from the county clerk because HOA records don't stay hidden forever when you know where to look. 2 days later, the file landed with 63 pages. 63! I sat at my kitchen table with a highlighter, listening to my fridge hum, feeling my anger turn into something colder and sharper. I started writing a clean, simple timeline on a legal pad. I even labeled it in plain words so anyone could follow it. Timeline Item 1: April 5 at 4:27 a.m. False trespass call. Timeline Item 2: April 18, 9:12 p.m. Suspicious car that turned out to be a nurse coming home. Timeline Item 3: May 3, 9 p.m. My car booted with no warning. Then I found the pattern: same caller ID, same name, same voice note. Karen. Over and over. I wrote one sentence across the top because it mattered and it was true: patterns of false reports can be prosecuted. Here's the part Karen didn't understand about me. I don't like chaos. I like proof. I like clean steps. I sent certified letters to the HOA demanding a hearing and a copy of the contract with the boot company. I also flagged the fines as disputed in writing, so she couldn't pretend I ignored them. I talked to the neighbors again, but this time I brought the receipts. People who wouldn't even look me in the eye before suddenly leaned in close. One woman showed me a notice for trash bin visible even though it was behind her fence. A dad showed me a fine for kids chalk on sidewalk. A retired guy said Karen had threatened to tow his daughter's car during a family visit. The fear started to crack. We filed a complaint with the city's HOA mediation office. We also sent the police report pages to the city attorney, because false reports aren't cute, and using cops as your personal security team is not a hobby. Then I did one more thing, the smartest thing. I asked for the next HOA meeting to be held in a public building under their own bylaws, and I requested it be recorded. Karen agreed fast, because she thought a bigger stage meant a bigger win. June 11, 2024 came in hot and bright, and by 7:18 a.m. I was walking up the courthouse steps with a paper cup of coffee in my hand. The stone was cool under my shoes. The air smelled like cut grass and car exhaust from the street. The courthouse has this little covered porch area at the top of the steps, where people wait before doors open. That morning it was quiet, just a deputy by the entrance and a few early folks sitting on the bench. Then I heard fast heels slapping stone like gunfire. Karen stormed into view with her HOA folder tucked under her arm like a shield. Her face was already red. She spotted me and marched right up, eyes blazing, acting like the courthouse was her front yard. She didn't say hello. She didn't ask a question. She went straight to shouting. Rules are rules. You think you can hide from me now? She slapped papers against my chest hard enough to splash my coffee. Pay the fines today or I swear I'll have you arrested. People turned. Phones came up. The deputy stepped closer and said, "Ma'am, you need to lower your voice." Karen spun on him and snapped, "This is HOA business, stay out of it." That was the moment I almost laughed, because nothing says I'm in control like yelling at a deputy on courthouse property at sunrise. I kept my voice calm and small, the way you do when a person is desperate for a fight. I said, "Ma'am, this is a courthouse. Please step back." She leaned in closer, breath sharp with mint gum, and said, I run that neighborhood. You don't get special treatment." Then she made the mistake that changed everything. She jabbed a finger at the doors and yelled so loud it echoed, "Somebody needs to teach this man a lesson." The deputy told her one more time to stop. She didn't. She threw the papers on the ground like confetti. That's when the main doors opened and the bailiff called out, "Good morning, Your Honor." Karen froze mid-rant like someone hit pause. Her eyes darted from the bailiff to me, then down at my badge clipped to my belt, then back to my face. For one full second, the whole porch went quiet except for the flag rope clinking in the breeze. Karen tried to recover with a fake little laugh, like she'd been joking, but it came out shaky. I watched her swallow hard. The phone's filming didn't stop. The deputy looked at her like she was a toddler holding a lit match. Inside, I handled it the only lawful way I could. I didn't scream. I didn't threaten. I told the deputy to document her outburst, and I referred her disorderly conduct citation to the proper channel. Then, because ethics matter, I made sure any HOA civil filings involving me personally went to another judge. But Karen's courthouse blow-up wasn't about me as a neighbor. It was about her disrupting court operations, and that's not a game. Later that morning, her name popped up on the docket for an arraignment tied to that exact incident, because she refused to leave when ordered. When she walked into the courtroom, she looked like a balloon losing air. The same woman who yelled rules on the porch now clutched her purse with both hands and wouldn't make eye contact. The prosecutor laid out the facts, clean and simple. Video from the porch. Statements from the deputy and bailiff. And then, because the city attorney had moved fast, they added the public records pattern as context for why this wasn't a one-time slip. Karen's face went pale when they mentioned the stack of calls and the HOA threats. In the gallery, a few neighbors sat together for the first time, not scared, just done. One guy even whispered, "This is going online," and I heard a stifled laugh. By the end of that week, everything flipped like a light switch. The city opened an inquiry into the HOA's boot contract because it looked like a kickback scheme, and the board suddenly found their spines when they realized their names were also on those papers. The boot company quietly stopped coming to Maple Ridge. Karen got ordered to stay away from courthouse property unless she had a scheduled case, and she was warned in plain words that another outburst could land her in deeper trouble. She also got told, right there in open court, that false reporting patterns get treated seriously when there's evidence. Back in the neighborhood, the online video of her porch meltdown spread like wildfire. People clipped the part where the bailiff said "Your Honor," and the comments were brutal. My favorite was, "She tried to HOA the courthouse." The HOA held an emergency meeting on June 18, 2024, and for once, it wasn't quiet. Neighbors stood up and read their fines out loud. Someone asked about missing funds. Someone else asked why Karen had access to the police non-emergency line like it was a speed dial. Karen tried her old trick, tapping her pen, rolling her eyes, but the room didn't flinch. A vote was called. She was removed as president that night, and the new board froze all fines issued in the last 90 days pending review. By July, the air in Maple Ridge felt lighter, like someone opened a window. The porch planter stayed right where it was. Kids drew chalk rockets on the sidewalk, and nobody acted like the world was ending. A neighbor who used to whisper now waved at me like a normal human. Karen stopped walking the streets like she owned them. She kept her curtains shut, and when I did see her, she moved fast and quiet, like she was trying not to be noticed. The real peace came from the small stuff. The mailman didn't look tense. The clubhouse didn't feel like a courtroom. We even had a block cookout on August 3, 2024, and somebody brought a giant tray of cookies that actually tasted good this time. A little kid asked what I do for work, and I smiled and said, "I help people follow the rules the right way." No sarcasm. Just truth. And for the first time since that orange boot bit into my tire, I sat on my porch with a cold drink and watched the sun go down without feeling like someone was hunting me for sport. Please follow for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.